Another cultural practice, bottle feeding, is about 100 years old and limits or denies the well-documented benefits of breastfeeding. The importance of breastfeeding to the emotional and physical health of the infant is often unappreciated. The advantages of breastfeeding over bottle feeding include improved bonding, short and long-term health benefits, and improved intellectual and neurological development measured at age 10. The World Health Organization and UNICEF recommend breastfeeding for 2 years of age or beyond. In America, many mothers stop breastfeeding after 2 weeks. At 6 months, only 25% of mothers are exclusively breastfeeding. The proportion of infants born at American hospitals with policies that support breastfeeding is 28%. Our culture has changed, but the biological and psychological needs of infants have not changed. As stated earlier, unmet needs are associated with disrupted bonding, which can contribute to emotional and behavioral problems and a greater likelihood of antisocial behavior.
Yeah. And what comes to mind for me with the breastfeeding is like, our culture, the systems of our culture do not support that mother-infant bonding because, how many single mothers need to just put the infant in daycare and get back to work to put food on the table, or how many two-parent households the woman has a career and she can't take 6 months off of work because she'll get fired or replaced at her job. So the systems of the United States and North America specifically literally are designed to prevent and interfere and make it almost impossible to adhere to these, these nature-based, these biological needs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Is that what you're pointing to, Dr. Ron, that the systems, the culture of the United States and the systems that are in place are kind of designed to perpetuate this violence?
Well, they are. And,
yes.
I've got a lot more to say about it.
All right. Well, let's let you have the mic back then.
Okay. Another cultural practice, isolated sleeping for infants is a cultural practice here, and it's about 200 years old. Throughout history and in non-Western cultures, infants have slept next to their mothers. Worldwide today, the overwhelming majority of infants sleep next to their mothers. According to the research, mothers who co-sleep with infants breastfeed an average of twice as long as non-co-sleeping mothers and exhibit 5 times the number of protective behaviors such as adjusting the infant's blanket, stroking, or cuddling. Boys who co-slept with their parents between birth and 5 years of age had significantly higher self-esteem and experienced less guilt and anxiety. For women, co-sleeping during childhood was associated with less discomfort about physical contact and affection as adults. Co-sleeping appears to promote confidence, self-esteem, and intimacy, possibly because it instills in the child a feeling of parental acceptance. Many parents who co-sleep feel that they become more attuned to their baby. They feel that their sensitivity to the needs and patterns of their baby at night translates into daytime sensitivity as well. Co-sleeping parents tend to believe that this practice powerfully contributes to the overwhelming relationship with the child. Isolated sleeping involves unmet needs, separation, and weakens the mother-infant bond. This could be associated with an increased likelihood of emotional and behavioral problems and antisocial behavior.
Yep, and low self-esteem. Wow.
Yeah,
and that makes sense because I remember reading years ago that when we sleep with other people, our brains are in training to one another. So that would make sense that sleeping with your infant, and all together as parents, your brains are in training to one another. So then in your daily activity, you're already attuned, you're already in training.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, another one. Although it is widely accepted in the professional literature that optimum care for an infant requires almost constant contact with the mother or a substitute mother, this level of care is not typical in America. about 55% of all infants have mothers who work outside the home, as you referred to earlier. By contrast, for at least 90% of human history, the infant was in contact with the mother 70 to 80% of the time during the first year, and the rest of the time with someone else acting as a mother. Extensive non-maternal care of infants is associated with insecure mother-infant attachment and other adverse outcomes.
Yeah.
The National Institute of Child Health and Human Development study of early child care was the largest long-term study of child care ever conducted. It found that the more time children spend in any of a variety of non-maternal care arrangements across the first 4.5 years of life, the more problems they have with, you know, ready? Fighting, cruelty, bullying, and meanness at the age of 4.5 years and in kindergarten, as reported by mothers, caregivers, and teachers. No maternal child care, I'm sorry, non-maternal child care involves separation, unmet needs, disrupted bond with mother, and increases the likelihood of emotional and behavioral problems and antisocial behavior.
Wow. Yeah. And again, like we were saying earlier, the way the system is designed, it's almost like it's intentionally designed to perpetuate violence.
Well, we designed it, and we'll talk about that later. Collectively, we designed it. Okay, moving on here. Corporal punishment is the intentional infliction of physical pain for the purpose of punishment. Examples of corporal punishment include slapping, spanking, and hitting with objects. Corporal punishment is incompatible with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child and the recommendations of the American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Psychological Association. 62 countries have adopted national policies against corporal punishment in all settings as an effective public education measure. However, in the United States, corporal punishment is common, but is decreasing. Corporal punishment involves maltreatment, potential trauma, unmet needs for safety and compassion, and disrupted bonding. An analysis of 88 studies found strong associations between corporal punishment and 10 negative outcomes, including eroded trust between parent and child, more child aggression toward siblings, bullying, withdrawal, and antisocial behavior. Other findings in the literature include that corporal punishment increases the risk of depression, low self-esteem, reduced empathy, child abuse, later retaliation with assault of the parent, and later violence with family and friends. So that's quite a lot.
Yep. And I remember being a little kid and getting my booty whooped by my dad. And
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's prevalent in certain cultures in the United States for sure. That my dad used to say he's going to take a belt or take a switch and beat me into whenever I was submission or agreement or whatever. And I remember being infuriated and feeling as if my humanity was being robbed. I mean, and I was little, and I remember that, like, just furious, like, how dare you?
Yeah. Well, it has been very common throughout our history, and fortunately, the rates are reducing, but we still got a long way to go.
Yes, we do.
And I'll just give you a quick anecdote here regarding retaliation against parents.
Yeah.
I had an older brother, and he had behavioral problems when he was young, and my parents didn't know what to do. And at some point, my father directed some corporal punishment at him. And when he was a teenager, he retaliated and beat up my father. So
Wow.
that's the risk you could be taking if you do that to a young child.
Wow. Yeah. Comes full circle. Thank you for sharing.